all this together for us. It's been very nice the last 2 days, the tour, the lunch, the reception, the interviews today. Thank you, city staff.
Thank you.
You guys did a great job.
Especially with the sacrifice on Saturday. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. It's a very important decision. It's greatly appreciated. Could we also discuss something else right now? Are you amenable to that? Okay.
Well, hear what you're saying.
Are you amenable to discussing something that will come later?
We can.
Okay, so the meeting on November 24th is at 5 p.m. However, Ms. Wendy Anderson will be at the library discussing water issues, water-related issues at that time. And I think it would be most important that we consider that for the timing, maybe adjust the meeting to 6 or 7.
7.
6, 7. I don't know what time y'all think, but I just think so the citizens can attend both. I don't want there to be any, conflict of timing. So 6 p.m. Everyone? 6 o'clock? Would that be all right?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I just gotta make sure I put it in somewhere around here at 5.
I'll send you. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. Yes, same.
So we got to make that formal, so yours was a motion, and is that Roy, you second?
I second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passed.
This is John Grant. I would like the commission or the other communities discuss this a little bit. We're gonna move Mr. Flowers to the 3rd spot, simply because we have a flight to catch, so. We're just changing order a little bit. John's the first one up.
Okay.
Good morning. Or, no, afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is this working? Y'all hear me?
Yes.
Anybody have any questions for him? Or do we want to hear from him?
I think that maybe a brief just rundown from Mr. Grant first, and then maybe we can ask some pointed questions if you don't mind.
You got the floor.
A rundown
You.
of me.
Just for the benefit of the public and those
Absolutely.
watching at home. Thank you.
First off, I'd like to, a man of faith. I'm strong in my religion. I have been married for 29 years. Married to, I know my wife since she was 6 years old. We have a 27-year-old son, a 21-year-old daughter. My son is a teacher at University High School and the head baseball coach. And my daughter is a senior at UCF, majoring in business. My wife is a rare disease nurse. We moved to Florida 2.5 years ago, a little bit over 2.5 years ago. I have 30 years of dedicated service to public safety. I've been a fire chief. I worked myself up from the Green Fire, from a firefighter all the way up to fire chief. I left that organization in 2022, and started South Daytona in 2023, where I served as fire chief there. I have a bachelor's degree from Waldorf University. I have fire administration. I have a master's degree from Columbus State in public safety administration, and I'm 3.5 classes away from my MBA. I have over 45 certifications in fire, EMS, emergency management, supervision, and leadership through national certifications through the state of Georgia and the state of Florida. I am big in my community. I believe in volunteering. I umpire youth sports. I've been volunteer at the concession stand, and I volunteer at my local church. I have had the experience in my life in my career, to serve in many capacities that normally a fire chief maybe not, participate in, whether it be building of infrastructure, whether it be doing a project management of a fire station, building a fire truck, building a multi-million-dollar training facility, for police and fire, for stormwater projects in South Daytona. We had, the last 3 hurricanes brought extensive flooding to South Daytona, and we have established $30 million in grants over the last year to fix our stormwater problems there. And I've also had project management, budget experience, grant writing, like I said, infrastructure, and just had an opportunity in my lifetime to serve others in their time of need, and that's what brings me to this position here, to apply for the city administrator for Lake Helen. Is I want to give back to the community. I've been blessed in my life, and I want to give back to others.
Thank you. You wanna start, Heather, or you want me to move down?
Sure. So, one thing that I think is important for us as a community is about maintaining transparency and accountability for, us up here and also for our staff. So one thing, maybe could you address how you would ensure the transparency and accountability for not only city staff, but city officials, for the public?
So I agree. I think transparency is key to building a strong relationship with the commission and with our citizens. That I'm a firm believer, if you don't give somebody a narrative, they will make a narrative up and they will listen to negative input. So making sure that our citizens are informed of our progress, our plans, and the commission is notified of our progress in our plans. Currently, the Lake Helen has a comprehensive plan which was established in 2017, runs to 2035. I believe that it would be important to establish a short-term objective, a strategic plan of 5 years that we can publish to the citizens and keep that information out there. So it's a living, breathing document that we can update and give progressive documentation for our citizens to inform them of what we're doing, what we prioritize as a staff. And I think that we got to build those relationships with the commission and the city administrator and city staff that we're one team. And I think with that foundation will bring a buy-in from our citizens to accomplish a common goal, whether it be whatever project may be. You're never going to make everybody happy, but I believe if you communicate and you have transparency through social media or through, I provide a monthly report to the city council in South Daytona. I also did that with Grange to make sure that you're informed. I want to have one-on-ones with the commission, the weeks leading up to a commission meeting to make sure that the agenda is covered so that I can advise you of anything that's on the agenda and we can address any questions or concerns that the commission may have.
Are there any ways that you feel we could build more trust or involve our citizens a little bit more so that they feel more involved and knowledgeable on what's happening in our city?
I do. I believe that, I don't know if this is the correct word, but like town hall meetings in which we could invite our citizens, maybe have a subject matter expert of maybe on stormwater or water lines or whatever it may be to educate our citizens on what we're going to do, what we're doing, to make sure they're informed. So like I said, they're not listening to a narrative that's maybe not be true. There's so many, in today's society, there's so much out there that can bring a false narrative to what we're doing. So we need to ensure that we're providing the correct information to our citizens. And I think in that aspect, we can build that trust. I think I was talking to Commissioner Farmer earlier today about possibly having a city tour for our citizens. We could take them to the parks or take them to the public works facility to let them know what we have equipment-wise or the projects we're doing as a city to gain that buy-in, to gain that trust, so they can see where their tax
Right, coming from your current position, what do you feel would be your biggest challenges if you're selected as the new CA? And, how do you plan to address those issues?
So I know there's concerns of making the transition from a fire chief to a city administrator. I think along with it, there's a lot of things that I've done throughout my career that will transfer over to that, whether it be, like I said, project management, infrastructure planning, strategic planning, monthly reports, budgeting, grant writing. And so I think the biggest concern is just the navigation of me being the person that the commission comes to, like not having that one buffer that I currently have, having that city manager between me and the commission in South Daytona, and that was the same way with Drain. But throughout my career, I've established those relationships. For example, in the Drain, we had city council member retreats, and we had gatherings together, and so they would invite people, staff within the local government, and so I had built those relationships where I was trusted by the council and was invited to those events where they trusted my input and my experience and my knowledge. So that would be my concern. My only concern is just the navigating through the different parts of the political world.
So that on grant writing, did you go out and obtain those grants, or did you write those grants, or how?
Yes, I have wrote grants in my career and received grants. Like I said, I was part of the process in South Daytona, obtaining those grants. Our city manager and our deputy clerk wrote most of the grants, but we continued effort to get the information, put that information together. I've also wrote grants for self-contained breathing apparatuses, received those. Bulletproof vests, extrication equipment. Our city actually wrote a grant for a fire truck to receive, and that's unheard of. You don't usually get fire trucks in grants, so that was a huge success.
Now, do you believe in working with other cities to try to obtain information about getting grants or anything like that?
I do. I believe that networking is important. I think one of the candidates said this yesterday. He was smart enough to bring anybody in the big room, right? So there's people out there that's a lot smarter than I am that I can use as a mentor. And I think that I'm a home person. I don't mind asking for help. I don't mind picking up the phone, calling the neighborhood city, and asking for assistance. I don't mind knocking on doors and asking questions. And there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. Like if someone's done it before me, I would like to utilize their tools.
What tools or resources do you find most effective and would you utilize to improve communication between City Hall and the community?
So, going through this process, I found it a little bit difficult to navigate through gathering the information that I need to prepare myself for this position. And so, I would like to utilize more of a social media platform to inform our citizens of what's going on in our city. And I think that publishing the monthly report that I provide, publishing the progress report, if you will, on the projects that the city are working on currently. You'd be surprised when you talk to people in the city, and I say this is not just talking about Lake Ellen, but in South Daytona, the people who live in the city that don't even realize how much work has been done inside the city because it's just a lack of information. And so, like I spoke about before with the town hall meetings, the social media platform, updating the website to make sure that just whatever because you got to target different age groups, right? And so we need to make sure that we're utilizing whatever platform we can use to target those different age groups and different demographics of age. And so whatever which way we can do to reach So, I'm organized and I believe in creating spreadsheets and documents and being able to provide you that information on a needed basis. Like I said, I will provide a agenda with detailed information on that agenda that we can discuss in meetings leading up to commission meetings. Also the monthly report and, making sure that, you know, I understand my role as an advisor to the commission. I understand my role of you are the what, I am the how. And I want to carry out the vision of this commission. So it's my job to make sure that, the information is advised to you guys, whether it be the consequences of actions or whether it be the pros and cons of what decisions that are made. So I want to make sure that anything I do, anything the city's doing, you're informed of. If there's an issue, like I told some of you guys this morning, I don't want you to be surprised at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, nor do I want you to be surprised at the city council meeting, or city commission meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good, because I asked him all my questions.
I only got one.
Okay.
What are you looking for a pay scale?
So, I am looking for a competitive salary, that, how much we have? So, a competitive salary, that compensates me for my experience, my knowledge, and my ability, and my job performance.
You got a figure?
I haven't looked that far into it, Mayor, I'll tell you that.
You don't have a number figure?
I don't even know what we're paying now.
I would, I did look at the budget, I did look at, what Mr. Gleason was getting paid, and I think that's a fair figure.
So you know it's going on already? Because I can't remember what we're paying.
I don't know the exact figure, but I'll just say around 120.
Is it 120? What is it? 132.5? Thank you.
So I think you do everything else.
That's what I said, I can't answer everything too.
We still have a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'd like to ask, something else, for the benefit of the public. What is your management style and how do you think that Lake Helen would benefit from that?
So, I think that when you look at management, supervision, and leadership, I always call supervision as the marriage between leadership and management. And I think you manage situations and lead people. And that's how I approach things. I believe in empowering employees. I believe in creating an environment in which people feel comfortable to grow and develop, to think outside the box, to state their opinions. I also believe in positivity. I think that a happy employee is way more productive than an unhappy employee. I told you this morning, or just right before lunch, that I've never seen a great employee with a bad attitude. I think that's the key to success. And I think that it all lies. People don't usually leave jobs; they leave bad leadership and bad bosses. So I want to create an environment where people love to come to work. Our life is too short. Our career is too long. Like I said that this morning, to be unhappy at your job. So I want to create an environment where people are happy, they love to come to work, and the people that are employed here, I met with staff yesterday, they love it, and they love working here. So I want to maintain that relationship, and I want to empower them to do great things and be successful in their life and careers.
Can you fix me?
Do you have a top priority that you think Lake Helen is currently facing?
Yes, I think that there's some issues, there's some tasks that need to be accomplished, right? But I think it all relates to funding. And I think that we need to find alternative funding to fund our projects. So you can say sidewalks, you can say So at my current, position, just how it's on my city manager knows I've applied and I'm interviewing. I've been, forthright in my communication with him. And, we've established a plan. So I would like to give him a 30-day notice that I'll be ready to go, toward the end of the year or the first of the year. And if it needs to be before then, I'm sure he'll understand.
So you could be here by the second, which is.
Absolutely.
Which is Jim's final limit. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, in your resume, you're saying that you oversee a $2.3 million budget. Is that specifically for the fire department?
That is just the problem.
Okay. Also, you left LaGrange, I guess it's LaGrange,
Yes.
after 20 years.
27.
Oh, 27, okay. You retired from the state of Georgia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, well, congratulations on that. Is it just the fact that you want to get into, a management position, more of a top management position, to put it that way, that you're leaving, that you would leave, South Daytona after 2.5 years?
Yes, ma'am. I obtained the goals of becoming the fire chief that I started in the department. I started when I was 27 or 23 years. And so I was served as a chief there for 4 years. And then I wanted to become a chief from the outside, coming into it, to see how that would feel. I've accomplished everything I need to accomplish except as a fire chief. And I went back to my MBA. And so I want to be able to utilize my education, my experience to, I think the higher you go, the bigger you get impact. And so that's my goal, is to impact locally, like impact.
And Linda, before you start, just so you guys know, anytime you want to submit a question that's got to be cleared by the Collins Benziger's representative to make sure for the contents doesn't violate any of the rules.
Understood.
Okay.
It's not very hard, yes. Got a little experience
Yeah.
behind me. Hi, how are you? I'm Linda Noto. I think you went downstairs. I have two questions. One is, how soon do you think that you can start this job? I got the date, but I mean, doing the job solely and completely on your own without support from a previous employer. And I say that because the outgoing CA is planning on staying, I think, until January 2nd. But when you look at coming back next week, there's Thanksgiving, any holidays, then you've got Christmas holidays, then you've got New Year holidays. So there's not really a lot of days to kind of work with and learn from, which I would prefer that you don't, that you have enough knowledge to kind of take over your desk and know where to start. Sounds like you've got some background already in being able to do that kind of thing. So, question one. Question two is, do you commit to treating all citizens equally and allowing them to speak without cutting them off and leaving that portion of the citizen speaking to the mayor?
You mean in a commission meeting, is that what you're saying? In a meeting?
In any workshop or commission meeting? Yeah, that should be up to the mayor to discipline the citizen or get it out.
So, I won't miss anything, so if I miss something, correct. So, if selected, I will make time in my schedule to come meet with Mr. Wilson and have some phone calls with him if he'll allow it and meet with me. And so I want to make sure it catches up to speed. I feel comfortable that, with my experience, day one, I can do most of the things that need to be done. I just need to catch up on the systems and the process of things. For example, payroll, budget, I think I use hours, that kind of correct.
Yeah, for payments, yes.
Payments, yes.
In Texas, it's our payroll system.
Okay, so I'm used to that process. I'm used to that in the range and also used it in San Antonio. And so, a little bit. We'll get it right there.
Okay.
No.
Well, I was mainly, I won't be here long, but mainly interested if you had any comments for us. One thing, I also want to thank the mayor and the commissioners, as well as the candidates, for going through this long process. And I hope that all of you have benefited in some way by being here with us in Lake County. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you. I'm not sure if I'll see everybody, but I'll go downstairs. Thank you very much for the privilege there.
Mr. Lewis, I had the opportunity to ask the commissioners today a great question of what success will look like in this position from their standpoint, and they all gave me their answer to that. I appreciate their responses. Thank you.
If nobody else has anything, we're ready for the next candidate.
Okay. I just want to thank everyone for these last 2 days. I enjoyed myself. You got a great city, and I would love the opportunity to serve as your next city administrator. I feel like my qualities, that my education and my knowledge
if you elect, selected as a CA, and how would you handle those changes?
The biggest challenge
Yes,
is,
if you're selected, what would be the biggest challenge, and how would you address those challenges?
well, the biggest challenge for me is that this particular city doesn't have a 5-year or a 10-year plan. It doesn't have a vision statement moving forward, and without having a vision statement, it's difficult for you to make certain changes. As you move through municipal government, your town's got to have a vision of what the future is going to be like in 5 or 10 years. That's going to dictate how you do capital improvement projects, paving roads, legislature up in Tallahassee. You've got to have a vision, and it appears as though this particular town, and I'm trying to shed negativity, but I didn't see one, or I haven't seen one. So that would be the biggest hurdle. The other hurdle for me is the annual election. I'm a big proponent of 3 or 4 years so that you can actually do some legislation. And not always in an election cycle. Election cycles can be really feisty. It's not an environment to get to serious work, if you will. That's my opinion.
So how do you address those challenges?
Oh, have a conversation with the commission, talk about adjusting the annual, 2-year cycle term to a 3-year term. And once you've done that, then you can actually talk about implementing a 5-year plan, and a 10-year vision plan, a strategic plan, if you will. It's always good to hire an outside consultant to walk you through that process. You have workshops and things of that nature. You develop what the town is interested in, and try to implement those. You must survey your residents to make sure that everyone is somewhat on board with what the vision of the town is. If we're going to stay a small niche town, or we're going to grow, and we don't necessarily want to compete with some of our neighbors, but there is a vision that we have to have as a town for the next 5 to 10 years. Everyone's got to be able to do that.
Another question, how do you, for grant writing?
I can.
Grant writing,
Great writing. How am I?
yeah, what is the,
Okay, so, as previously stated, I have written 2 different grants that I can specifically, done other grants, but the one grant I did was for the city of Hopewell. It was a $110,000 grant for city arborists. Had to actually shake hands and become known within the Department of Forestry for the Commonwealth of Virginia. So when my grant hit their desk, they knew exactly who I was, and which was new for the city of Hopewell because of some bad history with a lot of turnover in the city of Hopewell. But we were granted an city arborist for 2 years. The city arborist was going to help the downtown area. Downtown Hopewell had trees, and 90% of them were dead. And that's because when they were planted, the city did not have an arborist, so the public works just planted them without any direction. The arborist is going to come and facilitate that. Additionally, they're going to help with the planning department, because as these economic development projects come in beyond the nuts and bolts of the planning project, the tree aspect of it, the planning department was just listening to whatever the developer said. And lots of times when you're a developer, you don't necessarily pick the right tree complement for the particular project. Having an arborist on staff can definitely help with that. And of course, the arborist should also help with all right-of-way trees and things of that nature. That was the one grant I wrote. Then, I think I spoke to this to a number of different folks here at the panel. Town of Brentwood had a renovation project for an old firehouse. The budget was $4.5 million. I was able to convince the town council, police department, and residents that the police department should stay in the old facility. That took the budget down to $3 million, and then I wrote grants to help facilitate half of that. So I got $1 million from the county and the state, and then I got another $500,000 from another area in the state to offset those costs. So the $3 million building was now down to $1.5 million for the grant. So that's my grant writing experience, specifically on the 2 feathers in my cap.
how do you feel about reaching out to other cities, if you are city managers, to obtain all of these projects, trying to get any help you could?
joint Safe Streets federal grant. If you're familiar with the District of Columbia, and some of you may not be, but right next to the District of Columbia is my hometown. There are at least 5 or 6 cities that are right on top of each other. The town of Brentwood, along with the city of Mount Rainier, did a joint grant agreement because the school set on one street, and you cross the street, you're in my town. So he created a Safe Streets grant that was, I want to say $1.5 million, and that Safe Streets grant was able to provide new street markings and redo the street for the school. School was elementary school. I won't say it's dangerous, but the new improvements would help. And this was a Safe Streets grant that was granted by the Department of Transportation on the federal side to provide us with some improvements for this particular intersection of the street, if you will. And that was a joint agreement between the city of Mount Rainier and the town of Brooklyn. I will say that the impetus of this particular situation was because of a younger elementary student that had been killed. And so, unfortunately, sometimes horror leads to those types of things. So, we're really great to get inside that now. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Have to ask.
Again, Harry,
Yes, sir.
how would you approach and propose cost-saving measures without reducing service quality?
You gotta review the budgets. First thing you have to do is examine all your current contracts. Make sure that they are being facilitated in an ethical sort of manner. Once you've done that, then you can see whether some cost saving measures can be facilitated, if you will. That's like job number one. And if not, and if your vendors are not doing what you're asking for them, then you need to reestablish the RFP for the particular service. The strange thing about RFPs is when the contract is ending and you put out an RFP, the interest of the vendors change. And so they know that they're about to lose on this business, so their performance tends to change, especially if you put out an RFP for it. So you gotta examine all your contracts, talk about, and just do a serious evaluation of the return on investment that you have in these contracts. Unfortunately, you need the support of your commission to order to do that, because you may turn some folks away that have been here for a good period of time. But unfortunately, if you're trying to cut costs, you gotta evaluate all your contracts.
And what tools or resources would you utilize to improve communication between City Hall and the citizen?
No problem. We spoke about this earlier. Number one for me, and this has happened in every jurisdiction that I've ever worked in, I do what's referred to as weekly news you can use. It is an evaluation and a report from each agency in the city, and it goes out every Friday via email. It's basically a snapshot of what's going on in a particular agency to let them know what is actually going on. And then, of course, the commission will get their own separate weekly report as well, so they'll also be a little bit more detailed, not necessarily released for public consumption, but definitely something and that's what I would do. Also evaluate, examine an idea of a newsletter, quarterly, annually, what have you. And lastly, you must create a general email box. General email box info that's reviewed by 2, 3, 4 people for the city, so that within 24 to 48 hours, if somebody submits an email, it'll be responded to by somebody. Even if it's, we'll get back to you. did the same thing, I was just there, believe it or not, I was helping cook hamburgers and hot dogs and distribute chips and things of that nature. It turns out, 3 days later, it's my understanding from the public works folks that they had never had a manager or deputy city manager at the facility during a snowstorm. Didn't know what that was like, I really didn't do anything, but apparently it did a lot for me. And that's all it takes. You can count me in, I mean, that's easy. But then there's other things that you've gotta do, you've gotta be hands-on, and there's nothing on the agenda, as long as I know how to do it, that I'm not gonna do. I will not have the CDL license, so I cannot drive the luggage truck. However, I'll be happy to help out anyway.
Okay, thank you. And, how will you ensure transparency and accountability to the public, city staff and city officials?
As I spoke earlier, I would definitely try to engage the public as much as I can by updating them on a weekly basis. We spoke about that in regards to the weekly email news you can use, things of that nature. Try to provide a lot more information on the website so that people, the questions that they have, they don't necessarily have to come to us to get the answers, just go back to the website. Make sure the website is updated and make sure that the information is out there readily available so people can have an opportunity to take advantage of the city services that we provide.
Thank you. That's all I have at this time.
Does that answer your question about that?
Yes, thank you.
All right, let me know if I.
What pay scale are you looking at?
I cannot hear what.
Pay scale.
What pay scale are you looking at asking for?
I'll be honest with you, I did not really pay that much attention to it, so whatever, I guess whatever is the maximum that the city is offering, I'll be honest with you, I never see them. It's not that I don't know, but I know it's like 120 and 30,000, something like that, is that right? I actually don't look at that per se, I look at where I can be effective as the city manager, because at the end of the day, I have a passion for local government, and so pay is great, but if you're not being effective, if you're not taking advantage of some great projects that are like here in the city, at the end of the day, I want to walk away and say, I did that. And that's, I think I'm good at what I do. So, whatever the city is offering, that's fine.
And then we'll open up to our citizens.
Are we done?
No, our citizens.
No, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, is everybody good? Did I not answer anybody's
No,
question?
you're good.
Okay, great. Turn around, or send it.
Yeah,
Just stay right on the side.
Oh, sorry, yes, sir.
Is it, is Ann the only one?
And, okay. I'm Ann Roberts, 129 Maple Lane. According to your, I just saw your resume, Mr. Abshire was kind enough to give it to me because I did not have that copy. And quickly going over it, you're currently not employed?
That's correct.
Okay, so your time frame, if you were selected, what would be the time frame of when you could start?
Today is what, Friday? Saturday.
The 22nd.
The 22nd. After fighting with my wife, I could probably be here like Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
Looking-
Monday meaning next Monday.
Okay, quickly looking at your resume, you've had a wide selection, but you haven't had a real good track record of staying in place very long. Can you expound on that?
I would be happy to. Many of my municipal government stops, unfortunately, when the city manager left, or there was a change in leadership, it was an opportunity for me to go to somewhere else. So when I was in Glen Heights, Texas, the city manager left and went to Petersburg, Virginia. The new city manager did not think that the position that I had at the pay scale that he was providing for me was sufficient enough for his budget moving forward, because the city was a little distressed with funds. So I left the city of Glen Heights. The new city manager, Petersburg, asked me to come work for her as a budget I will say that my wife currently works for the feds, and I'm not quite sure if she would make that transition. But remember, I've lived in 4 different states, and she's always been in DC. Planes, trains, and automobiles is the way our marriage runs. So as long as we have those, and I'm still helping her maintain the homestead back in Washington D.C., life is good, so to speak. So not a problem. Like I said, I was in Hopewell. I stayed in Hopewell during the week, and then just went up on the weekends. And when I was in Dallas, I flew back twice a week. I mean, twice a month. I won't say she's elated with the situation, but she understands the job. So I hope that answers that question.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Not a problem. You have any other questions? No. Ma'am? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
She asked one of my questions, so
Okay.
I only have one.
That's it? What?
Just
Come
one.
on. Hey, man. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How do you like DC?
How do I like DC? I'm a 3rd generation Washington. I'm born and raised. Yes, ma'am. No, I love it. It's home for me. It's home. I live in my grandparents' home. We were the first African Americans of our life.
You mean roundabouts for me?
Yeah, you kind of get used to it. Yeah, you get used to it.
We're getting there now.
Yes, I hear. And I heard they're not going over very well. Gotcha.
I can attest to that.
No worries. No worries.
A $10,000 assessment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the question was asked, and I'm gonna paraphrase.
Mhm.
How can you manipulate the budget or keep the budget in line without cutting services? And my question to you is, I find that to be an impossibility, not gonna lie.
Mhm.
So do you have the fortitude or the strong enough skills to stand up and say, in order to save our city, we have to cut some services?
I
Based on the commission.
no, actually, I look at it differently. What the first thing we need to do is evaluate all of our contracts currently and what we're paying out. Once we do that, there may be some cost savings there, and I don't want to get into particulars of what we discussed as far as some contracts, but
I don't know about
no, no. So I've heard of some expenditures that probably could be abbreviated or changed out or manipulated to do some cost savings. I'll give you one cost savings is the fact that you guys have an election every 2 years, every year. You take out, you go to a 3-year term, whatever that cost is, that's cost savings immediately because you only do election once every 2 years or whatever it is. But if you do 3-year terms, right, you're not doing an election every year. So that's an immediate cost saving. I'll start there. There's other ways to reduce costs, but it has a lot to do with contract evaluation and your return on investment for them. And that's what I was. Your finance situation is a little interesting from my perspective, and that's one thing I would definitely look at immediately. I don't want to get into particulars of it, but that's what I would. But there are definitely ways to continue to host city government without necessarily cutting services. There's just other ways. Okay. Did that answer your question?
you answered my question.
I just want to make sure. Okay. No, you want that. Because I just don't want to talk about the particular details of certain things. Because it might be privileged information.
So we should have privileged information?
No. What I'm saying, what I'm saying is that some of what I've heard deals with how much money is being spent for finance or auditing or what have you. And upon evaluation of that, there may be a way these stuff on it, run it for 4 years or however long it is, and then once it's done, I can cycle that out, get a brand new, at half the cost, as opposed to buying a depreciating asset as what a vehicle is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so that's an immediate one. I don't know what the capital purchasing is for the future, but that would be the one big one. No worries, no problem. Anything else? Okay, great.
I was trying to find that.
205 is what,
Yeah, we're running close on this time frame, and he's got a plane he's got to get to catch. So is your question
It's
for him?
pretty quick.
Go ahead.
So, I'm Eric, I'm 351 Lemon.
Please.
Welcome to Lake County. Quickly, why you with an associate's degree over other candidates with masters in public administration?
Who has an associate's degree?
What's your,
I have a business, I have a BA degree from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia.
and it's complete? I'm sorry, I looked at, I think I looked at your resume wrong.
Yes, you probably did. So I graduated from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
The same institution that Martin Luther King, Angela.
Awesome.
Gotcha. I also have a master's degree from the University of the District of Columbia.
Okay.
I also have a certified public.
I'm sorry, I had you as a different person.
That's because they switched it, because he's got plain.
They switched people.
Okay, so I'm not completely off.
No.
Even if you, I don't mind answering the question. I am proud of my education.
Okay, well, congratulations.
But thank you very much.
So my questions don't necessarily apply to you because I thought I was talking to somebody else.
I apologize. You don't. Yes, sir. You gotta be kidding me. All that talking you've been doing.
Hey, I've heard enough for the last day and a half. Believe me, I'm
You kill it. I'm just waiting for all these questions. You good? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Sir?
Thank
Good?
you.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you for coming to our town the past couple days and putting up with us. And
thank you for your time.
No, thank you. You
Daryl's trying to cut that down.
Yeah.
the city of Waterloo, Georgia, which is about an hour south of Augusta. And 30 years of local government experience, over 30 years of local government experience. 30 years full-time law enforcement, 8 years as a police chief, and last 5 years as a city administrator. And where we focused on a lot of infrastructure improvement, community engagement, community relations, and rewriting our charter, and starting the code enforcement division. I am a hands-on type of leader, and I'm a micromanager. I like people to do their jobs. I have a job to do, I want them to do their jobs. So I'll empower them to do their job, help them where they need help. And try to make the government run efficient, very common sense, efficient, kind of oriented person, people skilled enough person. And personally, I'm married to my wife Ashley. Been married for 12 years. And we have a son, Jake, who is 14, going on 25. And then I have 2 other children. My first marriage, Stephanie, she was down in Lakewood Ranch. And so Tyson lives up here in Augusta as well. And I have total 5 grandchildren. In my free time, I like to play golf, play music, and love college football.
Okay, this round we'll start with Sean.
Okay. How are you? Again. If you are selected as our next city administrator, what actions would you take to build trust and establish credibility with staff, the commission, and the citizens?
But first of all, let's be very transparent, have open door policy, communicate well, and I do that. I like to be in the public, I like to be seen, shaking hands, meeting, all your key people, but I think everybody's a key person, every resident is, so make myself available quickly. I believe in social media engagement, get the message directly from City Hall, so we can grapevine. So those things that they can, if you give a message, we follow up on it, prove that, hey, what we said is true, I think that's first to build trust. Clear expectations for the staff, understand how I work, and what I need from them. So I also understand what they need from me, I think that also builds internal trust and respect.
And you answered one of the other questions in that question. So the only other one would be, what information do you think us commissioners should be receiving regularly from you as the city administrator?
Anything that's already not in place, or anything that you may have voted on, any kind of, directive, I would make sure that you have information updates on them, regular updates. It's a multi-step process. Keep you informed on the way. Anything that's a curveball, in government life, city life, you can have curveballs regularly, and y'all need to know about it. And my hope would be to at least try to give you information before y'all hear about the grapevine. But the reality is, you're out there too, you're gonna hear stuff, and hopefully you let us know, hey, there's something going on here, might want to look at it. So just open communication back and forth, try to keep you appraised what's going on.
Thank you so much for all your time today and answering all our questions.
Thank you.
I think he's learned enough from the last few days. Don't you?
No.
Just say it.
I enjoyed the
Sorry,
short.
I'm gonna make this one different, or I'm gonna use your same time.
I think I've talked to him enough. I've asked him, I asked him all the questions. I think he's had enough. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, what do you see as the top priority for, Lake Helen, and what, how would you correct it?
Yeah, so obviously I don't know everything, is, what you put out in the brochure, what I read online, you're never gonna sell the brochure, you're not, maybe the agent did it, but you're gonna get the full picture, right? So I'd be foolish to come here and tell you that I know everything was done day one. So coming in, I would definitely take a look at everything I possibly can. I do think that we have some budget issues always, because there's only so much money to go around. I know there's potential other changes coming in the budget in the next couple of years if certain laws get passed. So I would immediately look at how we're spending money, where we're spending money. to make sure we're doing everything efficient. I'm very big on efficiency. I'm very big on what a want is and what a need is. So I make sure that we're protecting the capital that we do have, and because there's other things that need to be worked. I mean, obviously, there's some FEMA reimbursement out there. I want to look into what we haven't got some of that. You understand some of the storms several years ago. I want to know where we're at, what's going on with that, because that's money to sit there, and let's find out where we're at with that. Let's get that money in here. Probably need it. I know there's some infrastructure issues, stormwater issues. So I guess my top three things, I guess, walking in, other than, learning the stuff I need to learn, drinking from a fire hose, any of us would have to do that, would be go over the budget, let's look at it, look at the FEMA, so we get that reimbursement flowing, what the holdup is and what we can do to either get it here or come up with some agreement to get some of it here, and then let's look at discuss these stormwater flooding issues.
Okay, wonderful. And how do you think you could improve trust or with the public and involving the public more into daily operations just to improve transparency with them?
Yeah, again, I'm gonna go back to, I think the easiest way, nobody watches the news anymore. Nobody reads newspapers anymore. We're very few. I'm big on social media, we're using it now. We tell our story. We don't tell our story, somebody else is going to tell our story for us. And that's not always the truth. And lies on the internet, lies on social media travel faster than the truth. It's even hard these days to know what the truth is with some of the good AI graphics and things that are coming out. So we need to make sure that we're being seen. And that's focusing, whether it's Roxanne, I focus her one day. Let her tell the story. Coming from her mouth. Or one of the other employees, Mr. Rick, or whoever, right? So it's us being visible with short videos, because everybody's living by this now, scrolling on the screen, right? So get the information out that we want to put out there, make it accurate. And again, we back up. If we give accurate information, and that's what's really happening, that's the truth, we build the credibility we need.
Thank you.
Coming from your current position, what do you feel like your biggest challenges would be if you're selected as the next city administrator, and how do you plan to address those?
Alright, so a little muffled, sir, so can you?
I gotta get this.
I got you.
All right, coming from your current position, all right, what do you feel like will be your biggest three of your biggest challenges coming into this job if you're the next city administrator, and how would you handle it?
Yeah, so obviously coming in, I'm a new guy, right? I'm a new face in town. No one really knows me. And first of all, was to build that public trust, right? And so how would I do that? Would be very visible, be very communicative with everybody in the community I can meet. So you start building those relationships, partially meet other stakeholders and things of that nature. And then just being honest with you, communicating well with you all, and it's problems that I see. And I'm not the kind of guy that wants to boy to tell me they have a problem and not a solution. So I'm going to bring you if I have a problem or I see something we need to address, I'm also going to give you 2 or 3 options, hopefully 3 options that, hey, this is some past we can do to correct this right here that I see might be a emerging problem for us.
How do you see yourself as a grant writer?
Grant writing?
Yes.
So I have written some smaller grants that are pretty easy to do. A lot of them are just easy to do. Some complicated grants. I've used, there's sources out there to do grant writing for you. Or look for sources that do that with a proven track record. The biggest thing I think with those bigger grants is to make sure you're checking all the boxes and that's gather information from all the legwork. And I've done that and successfully secured a $1 million CDBG grant. And we've done, we have some smaller $50,000, $10,000, $45,000 grants as well. Most of the thing about grant is to know what the availability are, what are the things we have to check off to get them. And I will tell you that if it's something I'm not comfortable with, I'm going to find somebody who is, but I will prioritize.
Okay. How do you feel about working with the joint cities to get money for us, get anything, help us with our problems? Like stormwater, working with a different city in this area.
As you talk about IGA agreements, yeah, I think it's important. I think you can do a lot of things with that. Is I think anytime you can build a relationship with another government and you're not competing. A lot of times the politician comes here and well, I don't want them to get it, I want to get it. But if we do things jointly, agency to provide the service that you may not providing as well.
What pay scale are you looking for?
Excuse me?
What pay scale are you looking for?
You know, I think the advertised range was, 200,000.
I thought it was 80.
280, I'm good. Yeah, I think honestly, it's the only whole package, compensation package, you know, benefits, vacation time off time, that kind of thing. So, that's, you know, your advertised scale, where in that margin for sure. And what I want for is those perks, I'll be willing to give up on the money side, if you understand what I'm saying.
Anybody got anything? Okay, then open up, let the citizens ask you some questions. Ann, you have anything?
Yes. Since you're currently employed, my question would be, when can you possibly start, what timeframe? When Mr. Gleason was hired, there was a Dick Ringer that got, I think, all 5 votes. And he was an attorney, had been a previous city manager. And then we found out that he was gonna need 3 months before he could come here. So that really left a mark on my mind as to, you know, what would be your timeframe?
Sure, so, ideally, the recommended, minimum is 30 days for this position. I would probably, depend on me, I'll shoot you obviously, but, ideally, we have, where I'm at now, we're writing our budget now for next year, we're already doing a calendar budget year. We'd like to finish that up with them, and we have 2 councilmen coming on this year, so we got fresh, brand new, got elected, so, ideally, for me, about January 15th, would be a good time for me, it's a little rough, that's after our first meeting of the year there. Very appreciative and loyal to them for as what they, you know, allow me to do and learn. But, you know, the earliest would be, you know, the first of the year, but, you know, I would appreciate it if you go to the extra 2 weeks.
Okay, another question I have is, with your background in police work, in Hepzibah, you were involved with code enforcement. And I guess probably on the train ride yesterday, you probably went through all over town, I guess. I don't know. But, we do have some code enforcement problems. And it's currently on a reactive basis. Was yours also in Hepzibah on a reactive or was it proactive?
Yes, a little bit of both, you know, because you identify problems and you try to reach out. The way our ordinance was written, if, let's say there was a issue with somebody's code, we'd almost have to have somebody who lived in that immediate vicinity to make the complaint before we could, in other words, if I'm gonna say, this zone 4 is upset with zone 1, she just can't be on the phone and start picking on people in zone 1 because she's mad at them or whatever, right? So, I don't know about the citizen, not you. Anyway, but.
It would be her.
But anyway, so that's how it works, but there is proactive things, right? If you see somebody put up a fence that's not in the ordinance, and you put up somebody's, you know, putting on a roof, and they have to come out and see how they get a permit, and we stop that. And to let you know, I also did that in Waterloo, we started code enforcement in Waterloo. It had a little bit, and that's one reason I was hired, was to, as a consultant, but also help the police have that training and get their code enforcement kicked off. And we have a
else have any questions? Derek?
Sure. Do I need to fill out a card? No.
It's the same question you had last time?
Similar, yeah. You're Dwayne Flowers, right? Just making sure. It seems like you have a lot of the things that, have dealt with a lot of the things that our little town needs, like stormwater. Looks like you have some experience with the charter changes. And looks like you have, some other things. So, you come from a similar sized town, so, and you've also been a police chief in the past, right? And so you served at the same time as city administrator as an interim police chief somewhere else? So dual role there? Okay. My question for you is you have a lot of great experience, but a lot of the other candidates have an education level that might be higher, and so I'm not saying one is better than the other. But why would we choose you, who's finishing their bachelor's degree, right? And you are finishing?
Yes, sir.
Why would we choose you over another candidate that has like a master's in public administration?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking me, right? So, I'm trying to figure y'all hear me as well, but, so, at the end of the day, I didn't decide to go to college until I got into this role. In Georgia, I started law enforcement in 1990. Education wasn't really being pushed, right? And until a little later on, probably I was 20-year mark of my career, they started saying, started pushing more professionalism, more education, this, that, and the other. And I was sitting in my office as a city administrator in Waterloo when I got a phone call from the school at a two-Thomas University. And the guy said, hey, Mr. Flowers, I saw you sign up 2 or 3 years ago. Did you ever go take any classes? I said, no, any classes? No. And he said, he said, if you want to do it, he goes, we're offering, half tuition for public safety officers. And I'm like, well, you know what? Let's do it, right? So earlier, I'm the 8th kid. My parents had 8 kids. And it was their desire for all of us to go to college. And I was the only one that didn't do college. And I will be the 4th of May, or William. I'll be the 4th to actually earn my degree out of those 8 kids. My parents are gone for years, but so that was kind of the deal. And at the time, I was new at this city manager thing. City administrator thing. So, I didn't really know where I was going, but I thought if I go back into law enforcement, the degree might help me get a better job or a bigger job or whatever. But why me over somebody with an MBA? Some of these guys have the experience in MBAs, whatever. That's good. That's great. But I don't think that you can trade 35 years of experience dealing with the public, dealing with emergencies, hurricanes, floods, mass casualty deaths. I've done it. You can't trade that with somebody coming out of college. These guys are older. You got to do it here, no doubt. You can't. They don't know what I know, right? And there's things they know that I don't know, right? This goes back to things. I think it's going to come down to the fit. Who fits your community well? I have the experience. I'm humble enough to say, hey, I don't know something. I need to reach out constantly to help you do this. But it's fit. I'm a small town guy. I'm community oriented. I think advanced. I'm a little ahead of the game. A lot of AI stuff for local government, especially small town people. Really into that. Also, the fact is that I'm not going anywhere. This is not a stepping stone job for me. I'm not putting a check on my resume to say, okay, now I got city manager experience. Now I got all these degrees. Now I got city manager experience. Let me go get a job somewhere else. That doesn't interest me. I'm a small town guy, and if I can come in here and do some things that you need done, because it's obvious you need some things done, and it's stuff I have experience with, and lay some foundation here, I'm going to stay here. I'm not looking to go to, some bigger cities. I'm not looking to go to Orlando. I'm not looking to go to Jacksonville or anywhere else. I'm a small town guy, and I don't like to live. I like change as far as moving around and things of that nature. It's 14 years in Richmond County, 16 years in the city of Jacksonville, 5 years in the city of Waterloo, and my wife, sir, also spends about 20 weeks a year down in Orlando. And her business, she owns her own business. 20 weeks
someone with roots, we've had a lot of turnover. Some that's good that they're not here anymore. And so I think we would like someone with longevity, and so we would want someone with roots. So I was gonna ask you about your family. It sounds like you have some connections here, but, you know, I have a 13-year-old son, so how's, your 14-year-old son, are you gonna be okay moving your family to a little small town that's close to everything, but it's a little small town like Helen?
Right, it's exactly where we live now, that's for Georgia, 4,200 people, one traffic light, got one more to know, right? One traffic light. One traffic light, you know, same thing, a little small, local, burger joint, little taco place, the grocery store, east side grocery store, but we're, you know, 8-10 miles up the road, I can have anything I want.
Right.
I mean, it's like what is Daytona, right?
But you don't have a train.
You don't have a train, no, we don't. So we don't, but, we got horses and cows, that's, we get those calls, you know, pigs out, and this or that. So, yeah, this, again, this is why, when I look at cities and apply, you know, I pick, you know, choose carefully what I'm looking at. This is, you know, proximity to Orlando is a win for my life, right? It's a win for us. You know, we're used to small town life, we like it, it's quiet. And then, but you're close enough to busy, you want to be busy. 14-year-old, the plan is, if y'all hire me in January, I'm here January 15th. Ashley and Jake are going to stay the rest of the school year, the junior. And then, of course, that'll give you 6 months to say you're going to keep me or not. But you know, it's, then we can come down in the summertime. And it's only 5 hours in the house, so they come down a couple weekends a month, and I go up and get a month or something. And then, you know, 4 months, 5 months is easy.
My last comment is just gonna be here, so I don't know if you're doing.
No, sir, I'm with you. I vote for them every October. I'm a Georgia Tech fan. I think there's leaders and followers. I choose me. You want any more?
Anybody else? Cookie? You gotta write your question on the card so they can be reviewed.
I did. It's already done. Finance. I want to ask you about what your experience is in finance. Do you have any experience in that?
Or it's like setting budget, things of that nature?
Yeah, the finance.
Yeah, sure.
Like what the budgets are and stuff.
Sure.
Work.
So-
You've been an administrator, you've got budgets that you
Correct.
work on.
And I like budget right now.
Okay, that's
I
what
like budget right down. I look at every bill that comes in. I'm always looking for what we spending this on. I want to know what we're spending things on. Why are we buying this dinner? And I just check the line and I can get it. Earn the price. I'm big on, when I set a budget, I think I told somebody on this in New York. If you set a budget for, let's say, $100,000 for a line item, it doesn't mean you have to spend $100,000. Okay? You don't have to spend $100,000. Matter of fact, if you spend $90,000, guess what? Next year, you won't put $100,000 in your budget. Alright? Because I'm not gonna punish you for not spending what you are allocated. And the thing about it is, a lot of times in government work, and it really came from federal government, is that they're spending it, they will take it from you next year. That's the stupidest thing in the world. I told these the commissioners earlier, the city runs a police union. Alright? We operate that way. Our budget's the same every year, no matter what. So, you know, the things pop up, and they can make adjustments, right? But at the end of the day, they constantly saving money, 80% of that town's budget is paid for by interest in the bank. 80%. We don't pay a city tax. We don't. Franchise fees, some enterprise, most enterprise goes back to the enterprise system. So it's basically paying all this stuff in enterprise. And we run very conservatively and very efficient responsible. That's the way I work.
Thank you. Now, the next question comes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, yes, you could. My question to you is, if you get the job, are you going to transport back and forth, or are you going to try, like, for example, last year,
I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, there's.
Yeah, there was a couple that asked about family transition and stuff. We're not allowed to ask about family or politics or,
Well, you didn't ask it, I did.
I'm not. That's why the question when I was mentioned to me, the question I had, did he ask that question or did the guy offer it? And I didn't know which way it went.
Actually, Mr. Flowers brought it up himself. His
Yeah.
son is 14-year-old, so that there was really no legal follow-up for Mr. Nicholson.
But we're not allowed to ask about family, not allowed to ask about age, not allowed to ask about sex, not allowed to ask about politics or religion and all that stuff. And they only get 30 minutes to talk, so. If you're looking down the resumes, the next one is Sean O'Keefe. Good afternoon. If you can give everybody your name.
Yes, so my name is Sean O'Keefe.
Your turn. Go first.
Oh, you didn't ask me about his little backstory.
You want to tell us something about your background?
Sure. So, I am the town manager for the town of Howland Hills, which is in Lake County, not too far from here. I've been there about 4.5 years. Prior to that, I worked about the same amount of time for Lake County Board of County Commissioners, where I was deputy director of the countywide library system from Cape and Crossing to Astor. In gray skies, I worked for emergency management for Lake County, helping with hurricanes, everything related to COVID. Found a passion for working in municipal government. My experience before that was in education, mostly abroad. And so I just dug into that, got my master's in public administration, and I just very much love working with local government.
Thank you. And now it's your turn to start. Back to Heather.
Okay. Please could you explain to us how you can ensure transparency and accountability of city staff and public officials to public?
Yes. So, it really is about the 360 viewpoint. If commissioners are asking for something, or a commissioner is asking for something, get the information, find the right answer, share it not just with that commissioner, but share with all the commissioners, let the staff, at least at the director level, the department level, know about the inquiry as well. Put it on the website if needed, depending on the topic. And I would certainly look to some more proactive social media presentation of information as well, things that are relevant to people's daily lives.
Thank you. And could you describe your management style?
I would say it's situational. Coming into a place, in the place I'm currently working, the charter hadn't been changed yet, so I had about a year transition period where I was not technically master list of SMART goals, prioritize them, use that to update the capital improvement plan. Because the commission at the end of the day is the one who sets the priorities. Staff can make recommendations. You know, this one's gonna take too long, this one's very expensive, you know, in terms of helping prioritize those. But at the end of the day, you know, if working on sewer is something that the commission sees as a top priority, great, and all hands on deck, and we're going to look at all different ways that we could work on sewer. If the commission has no interest whatsoever in changing anything about sewer and stay on septic for the indefinite future, that can change as well. Yeah, there will be chances, there will be opportunities where staff will say, I have a suggestion for something that could be considered for a future project. But at the end of the day, it's the commission and what they see as most pressing, barring an actual public safety emergency, like we need water treatment because the current one is failing, something like that.
Thank you.
Coming from your current position, what do you feel like be about the three biggest challenges that you will be facing if you're selected as city administrator? And how do you plan to address them?
So the three biggest challenges, if I were selected for this position. So I would say, again, it's obviously learning, every budget is unique and there's uniform accounting principles, but really wrapping your head around the budget, digging into the details of what are the contractual services, looking at the policies and what needs to be updated there. But again, it really boils down to working with the staff, understanding their strengths, understanding their needs, working with the commission, seeing what the vision is, and it's a needs analysis. Where are we, which is, you get that from talking to the staff and reading the budget and policy. From the commission, where do we want to be? And then I'm gonna come back and say, well, here's the step-by-step, 27-step plan to get from where we are to where the commission has decided that's where we should be.
So, another question, where are you with grant writing?
Oh, grant writing? Currently, in current capital projects, we have this past week, just started the construction on a $10+ million new water treatment facility. We did the well drilling before that took some time, and it's $1.5 million. Land acquisition, all of that, but I just also asked for more state appropriations money to help finish that project in the amount of $4 million. I successfully obtained $5.75 million over the past 2 years in working with the state representatives, working with other entities to get that funding. There's other agencies as well. We worked with DEP, we worked with St. John's River Water Management District to get the 55% grant for the drilling of the well. So there are smaller grants and smaller entities. We work with DEP for wastewater, a clean water study, which is wastewater. So I work with different entities. Some of those are with firms. Larry and Kermit helped us with the clean water study. Some of those are independent. I'm meeting with the state representatives to help secure the state appropriations. Some of those are department level, so the public works director gets out there and writes a grant to repair the water tower. We secured $250,000. The council decided in the end to not put in matching $250,000 to make the project happen. But there's a lot of different levels that works at, and there's a lot of different agencies. One thing I've learned is the amount of work you put into the grant is not really equivalent to the value of the grant. Sometimes the smallest grants require the most compliance paperwork and submission paperwork, and the biggest ones can sometimes be relatively straightforward.
How do you see yourself working with other cities adjacent to Lake Helen?
I see that as absolutely essential. Where I come from, we have 14 municipalities. The city managers meet every month for lunch. We share ideas, we share concerns, we talk about upcoming state legislation. We talk about working together cooperatively to share resources. We have looked at a wastewater agreement with one nearby city. We've looked at, we're exploring a surface water several municipalities to take advantage of DEP funding, because you get more funding if it's, if you can say it's a regional system rather than a single system. But it's absolutely essential for a city manager to talk to their peers, to work with their peers. So at the county level, that's important. I'm also a member of the FCCMA and the ICMA, because at the state level and at the national level, it's just good. It's lonely at the top, so it's good to have a collection of peers that you can bounce ideas off of, share concerns.
And you touched briefly on this when you answered one of Vice Mayor Rutledge's questions, but how would you increase transparency and improve communication between City Hall and the citizens, the community?
So, yeah, you know, like I said, the community, an official city Facebook page, and I'm not a fan of social media personally, but that's the way to get the quickest information out to the greatest number of people. If you're mailing a certified letter, that's only when there's a zoning question. If you're doing a boil water notice, that's door hangers on the affected parties' doors. In our town, we did an electronic sign outside of town hall, which has been pretty positive in the sense that we can use that to show upcoming meetings, board openings, job openings, events that are coming up, any emergency advisories. So there's really, beyond social media, for a municipality, especially a small municipality, that's the main way to reach people.
And one other question, so the public has time to ask their questions. What information and reporting practices do you think the commission should receive regularly?
I think the commission should receive, in my current situation, I meet face to face with my commission each individual every other week to touch base. I often talk to them weekly, at least, on the phone. If there's anything where there's details or we want to make sure everyone gets the same information because of the technical nature, the legal nature, that's spelled out in an email and sent to everyone equally, as well as staff, so that staff's not surprised or unaware of anything. But emailing the commission, just keeping them in the loop. I'm a firm believer in no surprises. No surprises for the commission, no surprises for the staff, hopefully no surprises for the city administrator. That just makes everything flow better when there's not just a big bomb dropped in a public meeting that I wasn't aware of at least.
Thank you.
What pay scale range are you looking for?
That's certainly something we could negotiate. I mean, it would have to be sufficient. I'm currently employed, so it would have to make sense with my current compensation.
And now I'll open it up to citizens. Ian Robinson has a question for you.
My first question is, what is the population of Holiday Hills?
21.
So it's a little bit smaller.
great-granddaughters and some grandnephews and things, and gave them various tokens of appreciation, thanked them for being part of the city's history. So we went all out, entertainers and other things, but usually our Founders Day in May is about 1/5 the size of the event that we did this year. So,
Well, I think that's appropriate, we had activities every month of that year, something going on, and we had, I think we had Mr. and Mrs. Lake Helen contest, and the guys, split gears and all that kind of thing. When I saw that, I was just interested in what we might have done.
well, we do, I have to say, we did have some fundraising and we had some extra funds. So I know for our Christmas, we're calling it Centennial Christmas. So it's going to be just at least twice as big as our usual Christmas event.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Anyone else?
There. Oh, that's sorry.
Okay, she got to ask me about all the fun stuff, I'm living on it, I'm running on. Why do you want to change jobs? Currently, you're living in Florida, Allegheny Hills, wonderful little town, been there, love it. Sun shines there just like it does here. So why do you really want to leave?
Yeah, no, I've been there for 4.5 years, which is average tenure. 5 years is average tenure in the state of Florida for a city manager. So I'm not saying I'm unhappy there, but sometimes it's good to broaden horizons. Lake Helen is a little almost 50% bigger population, so it is a little bigger. And I feel like I've built a good staff there. I've done everything I wanted to with the infrastructure, and we just actually started breaking ground for the water treatment plant. So I feel like they're in a good position. So I sort of left it better than I found it, and I wouldn't feel bad leaving it in that state, in that situation. So I'm just looking around, and Lake Helen is a beautiful place. I have to say, which I've said this, I feel at least 20 times over the past years. I love just the houses, I love the number of parks relative to the size of the town is just to me absolutely amazing. We have a 56-acre nature reserve, so we kind of put all of our parks basically into one area, but it's a lovely area. Certainly wouldn't mind working for the city of Lake County.
So I'm sure you're aware that you're coming now from a town that's pretty much stable, got everything the way you want it, people are happy. Are you really wanting to come into a town where there's major issues? I mean, from state statute violations to all kinds of other issues, are you up to that?
There's always a chance. Many small towns are very much the same, and my small town is not really much different when I went there. And there's always something. There's always some drama. We recently had our police chief retire after 30 years of service, and brought in a new police chief who was the second in command, so not really any surprise in the selection. But it turned into a big political brouhaha to the leading up of the council ratification, because they ratified department heads. We did our homework, we wrote down our process, we tracked everything, so when someone said, what did you do, why did you do it, how did you do it, we were able to say, here's the folder, and here's what we did and why we did it. And so when we got to the commission meeting, and the commission councilors were all briefed on the whole background of the situation, in spite of the angry crowd, some against and almost as many for, they made a decision, they made what I think is the right decision. And the next day, it just vanished in a puff of smoke. And then the next thing came up, which was, should we allow 7-Eleven in town? That was this week's problem. So there's
what do you think some of your strengths and some of your weaknesses were in your role as city administrator in Howard Hills?
So, you know, when you have a very small town, and when I went to Howie, my position was a new position. I was the 15th hire, so I was comparable to Lake County currently. But you know, I came from a large family, so you know, you learn to work with people. You don't have to necessarily like them. You don't have to, but you don't have to give in to them either. You can still do what's right, and you can come to an amicable solution. So I think that's helped me in working with people that, you know, we can come together, we can put the ideas on the table, we can figure a path forward. And I've been very successful doing that with the staff that I've had. So I have very loyal staff, very excellent staff. And certainly can, at this point, run things even in my occasional absence. In terms of weakness, I would say, you know, before my current position, I was in libraries, a lot of data analysis, you know, and I love policy, and you know, you can always do more data analysis. You can do data analysis forever to justify the best policy decision until you find a perfect policy decision. But at a certain point, you have to say, okay, no, we need to put something forward in terms of what's our best current possible policy. So on that token, I rely on my staff to say, okay, let's give you some feedback, let's move this along, put enough effort in the data analysis part, let's move along. And I think it's very important to have that, call it the inner circle, and there's a staff inner circle where you talk to them and get their feedback on policy and operations. That would then be brought forward to the other circle, which is the commission, who ultimately votes on the policy, accepts the policy.
Did I hear you saying that Howard Hills, or maybe I read it, was the charter was you were the city administrator, and so you felt like you weren't in charge of anybody, and have they changed their charter?
Sorry, so yes. When I first went there, it took about a year, and it was a strong mayor, form of government. For a year, the strong mayor had the idea of making this transition. She brought me in. It was kind of a leap of faith on my part to work with her on this project. So, worked with her for a year, made a few other improvements, wrote some SOPs, and we did the referendum. We educated the public on what that meant. Some people didn't want to do it because they love the mayor and they thought she should stay forever. And she said, please no. You know, she was the one trying to drive this change. So it went through. Effectively, the only difference between the charter, because every charter is a little different, titles aren't so much different. I know city administrators who you could call them city managers as well. The main difference between where I am and here is the city manager position can hire and fire as needed, except department heads need council approval. So in this case, in McKellen, the council's in charge of hiring and firing. So that's a substantial difference. The only other difference I think that I've noted in practical operations is the mayor declares the state of emergency, which in my case the city manager can, but at the end of the day, in either scenario, if we're about to have an emergency, there's going to be communication between the city administrator and the council and the mayor anyway. But beyond that, it's very similar. You'll as you read different charters, there's a few more permissions or a few fewer permissions sometimes, but they're pretty comparable in what they do. At the end of the day, I can't sign a contract that the council hasn't voted on, that the commission hasn't voted on, for example.
Is residential property taxes the biggest source of tax revenue in Howard Hills?
We do not have really any substantial commercial or industrial, so yes, it is.
And so how would you, so that's similar here, how would you deal with responsible growth and kind of the, seems to me like the academic hope that would provide, but the reality is the town doesn't want to grow, but we want to pay the bills. Sorry about that
things I would say, it is important for the tax base to not put all their eggs in one basket and to have other sources of income. I know everyone's a little concerned about what the governor may do with homestead property taxes, but it is good to have a variety of revenue sources. But ultimately, you know, commission, the comp plan, the development code, all of those determine what can or can't be as a commission.
Well, we thank you for coming, thank you for putting up with us for 2 days, and, we will make our decision on Monday at our special meeting.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
for your time.
It's been a wonderful experience.
I didn't ask anything to do with that.
No.
Good evening.
I don't know which clock they're running me by, but that was 2 minutes faster than mine, so.
You said 3?
This will be the fifth and final one.
Oh, this is the,
On time.
Roxanne, will we be updating Savvy about the time of the Monday meeting to make sure that everybody has the right time? Just wanted to make sure.
And does it still say December 24th at the bottom?
It says December 24th at the bottom, but there's,
It says November 24th at the top, and it says December 24th.
I caught that earlier.
That's what I think, well, my meeting, Christmas Eve.
Saturday.
Roger, you're saying there's a meeting Monday night
Yes.
Yes.
for a decision on this?
Yep.
Okay.
Monday at 6.
Good afternoon.
Sunshine.
Trying to get my glasses on the ink. Good afternoon. Welcome. If you can, state your name and give us a brief history about yourself.
Roger Omenheiser, I just finished a 24-year career with the Coast Guard, and I'm seeking a future in local, state government, local or state and city government. Because of the, I think there's a lot of unfulfilled translations between, you know, running a base like I did for the Coast Guard and running a town, and so that interests me. I have a wife
pay scale are you looking at?
I'm looking to get paid what was advertised in the announcement. I think it was in the low six figures, I think, was what was advertised.
Yes, how will you ensure transparency and accountability of city staff and public officials to the public?
Well, how would I ensure transparency? Well, I would first of all walk the walk by doing it myself and clearly relaying those expectations to staff. I would say that in my time in the federal government, transparency was also very important. I was subject to the same sort of information requests, FOIA requests, DHS, OIG type of transparency. That it's the same, in my opinion, it's the same thing, same concepts. So it would not be much of a difference for me. That's how I've been working for several years. So that's transparency and openness, and being accountable for results to the public is something I'm very used to.
Thank you. And what do you see as a top priority that Lake Helen is currently facing, and how would you address it?
I think one of the biggest issues for Lake Helen is its fundamental destiny. I've seen a lot of concern over the future of Lake Helen as it relates to business development, as it relates to housing development, as it relates to outsiders coming in and changing what we consider the culture of Lake Helen, and that balance with the need to bring in more revenue, to bring in business opportunities. And so I think at some point we're all gonna have to come to an agreement, understanding that not everybody is going to be on board, but once we do make a decision, everybody needs to commit to that future. And that's no easy thing. But what we can't do is not do anything and just continue to take things as it goes. There needs to be a long-term plan, strategic plan about what the future of Lake Helen looks like.
And could you just briefly explain your management style?
My management style is, first of all, I like coming to work to be a nice thing for people. I don't want people to be stressed out about coming to work. I like to foster an environment of candor where people's viewpoints will be respected. I also am a big fan of not micromanaging. I want to tell people where we want to go and let them kind of figure it out, do their job, and help them along the way. And I like to get to know people as a whole, as a person. I like to have both professional and personal relationships with the people I work with.
Thank you.
Coming from your current position, what do you feel like be your biggest challenges if you are selected as the next CA for Lake Helen, and how would you address those?
The biggest challenges I feel coming into this job are, like I've already mentioned, like getting that strategic vision in place and moving forward with that. I think that's going to be very difficult. I also understand that there's some infrastructure issues, some flooding issues that we have to worry about here. Other challenges, code enforcement, grant writing, those are to me opportunities to both beautify and also help with our revenue. So again, in the federal sphere, there's a lot of things that we do that are very similar, if not the same, in the local sphere. They just go by a different name or have slight tweaks to the processes.
Okay, are you comfortable with working adjacent with all the cities around McAllen to accomplish missions and make sure we keep work, see what they're doing?
I am not only comfortable, but I am intrigued, and I would think that why would I not use that resource available to me? I would network, hit the ground running, network very hard, because I firmly believe that the problems impacting Lake Allen are probably the problems that are impacting other municipalities, and there might be answers out there for these 20 problems that another city has conquered, and we have not just simply reached out and done our homework to get some lessons learned, some pearls from these other cities who probably would like to help us. I do believe that as a tide raises all boats.
How are you?
I'm well, I'll be
Good, thank you. You answered most of my questions in our one-on-one interview this afternoon, but I've asked the other candidates, so I'll ask you also. What tools and resources will you utilize to effectively communicate between City Hall and the citizenry? You can see how few people are here this afternoon to keep them engaged and involved in our community.
Well, social media is probably the lowest hanging fruit. You just gotta be a little smart about it, right? So that's good. It's only usually a one-way information flow, right? So two-way information flows, like I can't just be a Wizard of Oz behind my desk, right? I've got to be out there, I've got to be seen. In many cases, I am going to be the field general, right? If there's a storm coming, people need to know who I am. I used to say that in my previous job. I was like, these people need to know who I am. That's job one. If they don't even know who I am, that's a huge thing, right? So, getting myself out there, going to public events, shaking hands, pressing the flesh, talking to people, chatting people up. You can't be introverted in this job, even if you are an introvert like I am. You have to make a conscious effort to reach out and we call it intrusive leadership. And it's like intrusive leadership. Some people think intrusive is inherently a bad term, but in this regard, it's a good thing. Because sometimes you need to seek out what people are thinking. They're not going to tell you the mission.
And what
anticipated this question, it's a good question. Obviously, I know that the candidates have music experience, and I'm kind of the outlier. What I would offer to you is that in a way that could be a good thing, I bring a fresh perspective. Some of the stuff that I've been, I've quipped, has kind of been met with a little bit, naivete, naive. You obviously have not done this before, but I say, hey, like I said to one of the commissioners, we need to be thinking big, and sometimes hiring somebody who's already been an administrator, they're going to revert to old ways, or they're going to go back to what they're comfortable with. I bring big ideas, I bring a fresh perspective. And there have been several examples of retired senior officers being successful town managers, city managers, city administrators. I've been mentored by several of them in the state of Florida in the past few months. Did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Any others?
So would be my time to ask another question, since we still have a bit of time.
Okay.
Okay. How could you plan to improve trust and involve the public more in daily activities and the daily goings-ons of the government?
Communication outreach is very important. We kind of touched on that before. We need to make all those opportunities for engagement with the public, encourage engagement, make it fun. Make it fun. Governing doesn't have to be a chore. I would think that there are opportunities to involve the local businesses and local population to be part of our things, part of our activities. Like one of the examples we were talking about, a chili cook-off. What if one of the prizes from the chili cook-off was 2 free nights at the lake, the cabin on the lake, right? Like free advertising for one of our local businesses, but also involving them in stuff that we got going on. So you gotta look for those kind of opportunities and make it fun.
Short?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
I know, it's hard to believe that.
Can I get that right?
It's hard to
To
believe that.
take up time, can I get that right?
Listen, I didn't ask anybody any other questions, because I felt I asked all of what I needed to know when I interviewed, so.
Well, we thank you, and thank you for putting up with us for 2 days, and hope you enjoyed it. We will have our meeting Monday evening and make our decision then.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, but also thank you for inviting me to your home and being very gracious. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's getting hard and stuff.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
It was weird enough for a minute, now all of a sudden, it's like, it is for a while.
This time was up for our discussion, I think it was yesterday? Let's talk on the staff, and apparently there was somebody that didn't have an interest in being here, but he was too late to submit his application. So if we do not choose anybody Monday night, that opens it up for his behead, and I believe he was the manager from Palm Coast.
Was it the runner-up?
Actually, it was a runner-up.
Oh, he was runner-up for Palm Coast. Okay. He didn't get chosen up there. I didn't hear why. Everybody was giving him a lot of accolades, but we've got our 5 to choose from, and if we don't,
That's some good choices. I think we've got some good
I think
choices.
we do too. It turned out better than I
Yeah,
thought it
it was
would.
good.
Paul Coast actually chose one of our
Yeah.
clients, it was McLaughlin.
Yeah. So,
we got a tough decision to make over this weekend for Monday night.
I'm disappointed that we don't have more public engagement today, but hopefully, with the minutes and online video, maybe we can discuss with the public, over the weekend and before our Monday meeting. You know, this is such an important decision, and I feel strongly about having the public's involvement, so I'm glad that we have the additional time to discuss with folks in town to see where their level of comfort is as well. Just because, you know, this affects them greatly as much as it affects our city staff and us. So hopefully we'll get that engagement throughout town the next couple of days.
I'd also encourage anybody who watches or listens to this meeting to reach out to any of us who has questions about any of these candidates and ask them before Monday night or attend Monday night. Thank you to Cookie, Mr. Mears, and Linda Left, but to them also for coming in and asking questions. 3 of them were actually from my zone, so.
I thought you only had cows and.
I know, right, there's cows and tumbleweeds in Derek Mears' house.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They took the cows away.
It was round.
And the other thing I would like to do, and of course, Jim isn't here to get it planned out, but I would like to have a workshop before our next commission meeting to go over all the positions and committees that are open to be filled. And, for everybody to submit ideas on different workshops that we can schedule to get things done in town.
Thank you. That's one of my goals as well. I appreciate that.
So I want to get that done before our next meeting, but that only leaves us December 1st, 2nd, because 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I'm in Orlando for the legislative stuff. And then the following week, a couple of days before the commission meeting.
You want to decide that for Monday meeting?
Yeah, if you can look at your calendars and figure out Monday night.
Okay.
6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
6 p.m. Yes.
Meeting at the library, so.
The, Wendy Anderson will be at the Lake Helen Library at 5 p.m. on Monday,
Will do.
the 24th, and then our meeting will commence at 6 p.m. here at City Hall.
That's for District 1, 2001, whatever they call it.
Guess I call them take that.
And I know we already told all the applicants, but just for my use of mind, I want to thank all of our applicants for their time. They've spent a tremendous amount of time with us over the past few days, and that is tremendous. So, what a grueling process that must be for them, I can only imagine. So, what a commitment we have from them.
He's coming back. He's got to get